daybreak here on Arise News. Time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. Let's take a look at this day this morning. And its leading headline today. In the last 12 years, Nigeria's electricity grid suffered 222 partial or total collapses. Some riders there. Ministry advocates purchase of SCADA system. Experts blame archaic, obsolete grid system. And the report says sub-Saharan Africa loses up to $28 billion in GDP to power collapses. More on that report on page 5. Let's take more headlines. 2023 groups Malaye descend on Keyamo, Tinubu over comment on Atiku. And just above the nameplate of this day this morning, Lagos Red Rail Line now at completion stage, says Sanwo-Olu. And above that, the U.S. Bagudu's brother near deal on KB governor's money laundering case.
In the Punch newspaper, there's no going back on Buhari's impeachment. That's according to agreed lawmakers. Nigeria needs 21 trillion naira to bridge housing deficit. That's the Bank of Industry speaking. And the federal government is to implement telecoms beverage taxes in 2023.
Let's look at the Nation newspaper. It says Wike's camp slams Atiku over divide and rule in PDP. Has some riders there. Governor tightens hold on Rivers chapter. We are resolving rift, says Jibrin. How generals influence Okowa's choice. Omahi, power should shift to the south. If you Air Force kills terrorist leader, 27 insurgents neutralized. That's Nigeria Air Force. Then if you go to the topmast, it says Amuson Brume break Commonwealth records. She's just flying. This is her season. Subsidy. FAAC demands petrol consumption records from NMPC. And then Pantami becomes first African fellow of Chartered Institute of Information Security.
In the leadership paper this morning, its leading headline, as Commonwealth Games end, Nigeria's athletes bring incredible joy to nation in distress.
Well, let's move on to that next paper. Let's see what the Sun has to say. Buhari's minister under fire over insecurity and ASU strike. 50 billion naira Nimasa floating dock rots away at Naval Dockyard.
All right, let's go to the international papers. We take on Daily Express. Daily Express Trust. I won't rule out urgent help on bills.
And the Financial Times this morning. Tory frontrunner Truss faces pressure over cost of living plan. And just below that, UK's government investment fund largely backed by zombie businesses. And another headline here, Gaza attack, fresh fighting leaves 31 dead.
Well, voters in the UK are saying get inflation down before cutting tax. That's according to the Times. Get inflation down before cutting tax.
All right, and I paper, cost of living plans will decide the leadership race between Sunak and Truss.
Well, for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who joins us now. Emmanuel, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Let's take a look at a report that's on the front page of This Day newspaper talking about Nigeria's electricity grid. We know that this year we've had about 6 collapses this year alone. Now it's going deeper to say in the last 12 years, Nigeria's electricity grid has suffered over 200 partial or total collapses. And he's blaming archaic and obsolete grid systems and also talking about how much is being lost because of these collapses. What are your thoughts on this report?
Well, Nkechi, good morning. Kenneth, Indy, welcome to Monday. This day, the newspaper that leads in with businesses and big stories on a Monday, of course, led with this beautiful story. It's a very important story. And it's a good one too, beyond politics, beyond all the other issues. focusing on what is very central to all of us, but what is central to business life, what is central to even modern life, and that's electricity, power. So, and in this report, you have that serious statistics on the number of collapses we've had so far. And Nkechi, like you noted, the bigger implication, not only for the good life generally, but also for businesses, how that has led to the loss in revenue generated, lost in businesses. And you agree with me that apart from what we go through day to day in our various lives, the lack of electricity is really one of the major issues. Some people will even say that you can actually practically use this to to gauge or to measure the performance of the Buhari administration. Remember that President Buhari, when he first came, one of his lamentations, I think throughout his campaign, and even when he came in, was that a lot of money has been sunk into this sector, and he asked the proverbial question, where is the power? 7 years down the line, it's like that question hasn't been answered, and certainly not by his administration. And of course, now this story, this very important, beautiful story, is pointing to the statistics and the number of years we've had those collapse. And that has led to further hardship, has deepened the crisis of power and energy. So it's a good story. It's one that everyone will be interested in. Business people will be interested in this kind of story. Of course, those who are talking about the records of government in trying to run for elections, elective offices, we also want to look at this story and see how far they have performed, because you can't be looking for political power if you cannot address the issue of power.
Emmanuel, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. No going back on Buhari's impeachment, aggrieved lawmakers. Still in the Punch here, Senator Jeff, he was speaking in an interview. And he's saying some APC senators are in on the impeachment process. How far do you think this will go?
Well, Kennedy, there are people who have expressed doubt on the resolve of our legislator to carry on with this. The first statement that came out of the presidency through the spokesperson was that it's all bravado, and that it's nothing, it's just talk and wind and nothing really serious, and that they can't get anything concrete of it. Some people have cautioned that the senators should be able to be careful about that. So that waned, but those 6 weeks ultimatum given to the president seem to have worked, because the president or the presidency seem to be doing more. We are seeing more action, even if we are not seeing the kind of desired results we're saying. But those 6 weeks ultimatum on what he should do with the security crisis situation seem to have, the message has really gotten to the president, and the clear stand of the senators on his impeachment, and they are not looking at any other reason for this impeachment but his record with securities. Those 6 weeks, Kenneth, I don't know if you're keeping the count whether we're in the second week of that ultimatum, but looks as if the presidency seems to have taken it seriously. We've seen more of those security meetings. We've seen more of those deployments. The other day, the Operation No Mercy was launched. But in spite of that, the senators are saying that, look, they're going ahead with the impeachment. I think this is a reaction to a story that came out at the weekend that they must have backed down. Because, quite frankly, a lot of people expected that they will be talked to, they will be prevailed upon. We've gone through this before. Talk about impeachments. They never actually happen. There are people who are really excited. They want to see how that happens. Of course, there are other people who are saying that why impeach the president? Why not just allow it to, let's just sit out his term and wait for a better day and wait for a better, because of the constitutional crisis that are attached to it. But here are the senators saying that, look, they're determined and they want to go ahead with it. They're on recess now. Maybe that will be part of what they will start deliberating as soon as they return. But the National Assembly is saying that, look, we don't have such emotion on our table where we're not thinking of it. But those determined senators have said that, look, if the Senate president stands on their way like he did the last time, that they will also impeach him. So we're seeing a lot of, as soon as they resume plenary, I think we're going to see a lot of drama.
And the president indeed has no choice but to sit up concerning security. And that may be why we're seeing what we're seeing. Let's look at The Nation. Emmanuel, it says, Wike's camp slams Atiku over divide and rule in PDP with some riders there. Governor starting hold on River, the Governor Tatting's hold on Rivers chapter. And then just below that, towards the left, Air Force kills terrorist leader, that is Boko Haram's leader, 27 insurgents neutralized. And then on the topmast, Amosho Brume break Commonwealth records. It has season.
Well, also we're still getting very good news from the Commonwealth. You know, we're seeing the gold, those bringing us gold. I think that the Leadership newspaper practically dedicated its front page to that bit of the story that Punch is carrying. Leadership is leading with the Commonwealth gold harvest, if you wish, and it's a piece of good news with the president even saying some really great things about what's going on there. Yes, but the Nation newspaper is leading with a different kind of story. It's focusing on politics. It's Bonde, and the Nation newspaper is deepening. He said that this crisis is deepening, and it's deepening his report on what is happening between the Wike and the Atiku. I think the Nation newspaper just has stayed with this story since Thursday. It has led, back to back with a Wike Atiku story. It's interesting. Not many papers see it like that. They just allow it to be what the party is dealing with. But the Nation newspaper is focusing on it and bringing a lot of angles to that story, especially the fact that Wike is still belly aching about his loss, and the fact that Atiku lied to him over the issue of the vice presidency. And then, of course, some developments in Rivers State itself concerning this, the fact that he's actually tightening his hold on the PDP in the state and watching anyone that we go ahead and, because the idea is that Atiku will bypass him and reach out to, other people within the state. But he's holding on to that strongly. There's been some sacking already. Lemeba has been sacked, according to this report, and it could be connected to that. The Rivers State governor is also doing a lot of commissioning of projects and not inviting Atiku. Maybe again, the paper is suggesting that is an indication of the rift between them. But within the story too, we are seeing voices that are reassuring the PDP that this problem can be dealt with. Jerry Ghana, for instance, who is brokered some kind of meeting, is still optimistic that there will be some kind of understanding at the end of the day. But maybe it's in the interest of the Nation newspaper to actually continuously focus on this problem and continuously talk about the deepening crisis within the PDP, because that has actually affected the PDP. It has not been able to raise a presidential council, campaign council like the APC has done, and it's threatening a whole lot of things, with some people suggesting that Atiku might be thinking of backdoor measures to deal with some of the crises itself, maybe bypass Wike. But Wike holding strong to the Rivers election, holding strong to the electorate, to his base, and not allowing anybody, go behind to do some negotiation. That's this what the story is saying. So it's going to be an interesting development. Probably the Nation newspaper will stay on the story this week, so that we'll continue to see the development. But it's one that, of course, should excite, especially people within within the PDP and generally the political class, as we see these parties, trying to dot the I's across the T's, and also get ready for what is obviously the campaigns next month.
Haram leader.
Sorry?
The killing of the Boko Haram leader and 27 insurgents.
Oh, okay, yes. Indeed, like you pointed out, the president is sitting up. It looks, or it seems, those 6 weeks ultimatum that he has to do something about the security. I don't think at the weekend we didn't hear too much of this sort of story that we wake up every day and we're reporting or reading here. Is it a sign that the president is actually responding to those 6 weeks ultimatum? Remember that the president himself reassured the nation that he needs just 11 months. I think at the start of the year, he gave us that assurance that in 11 months he will have been done with the issue of security. He still want to rewrite his legacy there, because those are going to be campaign issues. Remember that already the spokesmen of both sides of the campaigns, especially between the APC and PDP, are already going, already toe-to-toe, head-to-head on the issues of records, on the issue of legacy, with even some people within the APC trying to say, look, you can't blame Tinubu for the problems or the records of Buhari. So maybe Buhari himself worried about that, worried that, look, you need to take something to the campaign to be able to sell this brand, has to do something. So we'll be seeing more of this kind of stories. They call it Operation No Mercy in one instance, and we're seeing stories about, terrorist leaders, bandit leaders be taken out. These stories probably, is actually speaking to that issue of the president and how he wants to be remembered, especially as far as security is concerned.
Emmanuel Bello for joining us on the press.